we learned about Kahindi Lyman.
Hi, my name is Jumeir, and we also learned about Biographical.
Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Frias, and I'm going to be reading my biography essay about Martin Luther King Jr. Do you think Martin Luther King Jr. was very important in the civil rights movement? If you do, thank you, and if you don't, I can maybe get that thought out of your head. He was a very important person in my opinion, and he helped others in tough times. Martin Luther King Jr. played a significant role in the push for civil rights for all against racism in the United States, and he was such a great person. He was very important because of his nonviolent protest, which means that he didn't harm or did not hit anyone in the protest, and his inspiring speeches that started the process of fighting against racism. Martin was born January 15th, 1929 in Atlanta, GA. Growing up in Atlanta, GA and being middle class wasn't that bad, but how they lived was different. People were racist against other people who were of color. Martin knew about the cruel but beautiful world he was raised in, and it fueled his whole career. He knew he had to do something about racism, but he knew that now was just the wrong time. Martin Luther King Jr. grew up with loving parents. He had a kind and understanding mother who understood him and loved his siblings and him more than the world. He had a strict father who loved Martin but wanted him to always be safe. Martin was so smart that he skipped 2 grades in high school. He went to college at the age of 15, which was pretty impressive. His father was a preacher who preached at a church, which inspired Martin to follow in his father's footsteps. Martin had a younger brother and an older sister who really took care of him, but his childhood wasn't as good. He had a white friend who loved playing with him, and they always had fun. But one day, his white friend's dad said that they couldn't play with Martin anymore. Martin was furious. He knew the world had turned against him, no, his kind. Martin's career was as a minister at a church. He then decided to protest for civil rights sometime sooner. We all know that Martin Luther King Jr. is a very important and smart person. But in addition to being smart, was he strong? People who are weak-minded but are smart can never handle the job. Stress, anxiety, social anxiety, etc. If you can blow past these problems and you are a hardworking employee, you're alright. You could get the job, but can you handle it? Martin was strong and smart. As a civil rights leader, he made nonviolent protests. He inspired people in a nonviolent or calm way. He changed the minds of people in a nonviolent or calm way. He baptized people, and he was a pretty calm and admirable person. Martin had been treated as an outcast by the world just because of his skin color, but he wasn't the only one. Other African Americans also stood up for themselves and their fellow protesters, family, friends, etc. People like Rosa Parks, Booker T. Washington, and many more. Martin Luther King Jr. was arrested over 20 times for protesting. He knew the consequences of being a civil rights activist, but he would endure until racism was stopped. He was the object of several violent attacks, both to his person and his property. He was threatened. His house got bombed, he got stabbed, but he didn't let that stop him. He never gave up, even until the very end. Martin was the type of person who would encourage others to do the same thing that he was doing. And because of that, fellow African Americans also spoke up. Martin was the youngest person to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize because of his nonviolent protests. He has his own holiday. There were over 700 streets named after him. He even has a statue of himself. Like, imagine that. All because of his sacrifice. The world has honored him. Martin Luther King Jr. had an important role in the civil rights movement because of his speeches, his nonviolent protests, his achievements, his perseverance, his childhood, his education, his career, and of course, his skills. His impact on the world really changed it. People protested the same way he did. Other people spoke up. Other people changed their opinions on African Americans in a positive way, and other people decided to remember the civil rights movement as if it was yesterday. Not today. I did this January 17th, 2022. But people made statues in as if it was yesterday, right? No. People made statues in honor of MLK as well. Even whites pushed for civil rights. All because of him and other African Americans, he started the process of fighting racism. And he was able to stop it in many ways. In my opinion, Martin Luther King Jr. was very important in the civil rights movement.
My name is Brianna Lilibeth Rivas, and I'm going to be reading my biography essay about Harriet Tubman. Do you know why Harriet Tubman is so important to American history? Well, this paragraph is going to be all about why she is. Harriet Tubman is very important in American history because she acted in the civil rights movement. Harriet is also important because she saved hundreds of slaves escape slavery through the Underground Railroad. She believed everybody deserved the right to be free and risked her life for others. She is someone you should know more about. Harriet Tubman's childhood was a struggle. It was a struggle because when she was a child, she didn't live in a nice house because she was a slave. Also, when she was around the age 5, that's when she started working as a house servant. When she was 18, she suffered a bad head injury that would stay with her forever. When she had that sad, terrible injury, it interfered with her learning. Harriet Tubman didn't know how to learn or read or write. You see, Harriet did have a struggle in her childhood with her education, but it never stopped her from overcoming and doing great things. She never lost a slave trying to help them escape. She also cured dysentery in a little girl. Dysentery is an infection that causes bad stomach cramps and vomiting, feeling sick, or going to the bathroom a lot more, which is caused by bacteria. From being a house servant, Harriet Tubman's jobs as a slave got harder and harder by the years. For example, Harriet was a soldier, scout, and nurse for the Union Army. Also, by being a nurse, she cured an infection. Tubman had many jobs that were put in her responsibility to do. Harriet Tubman had some good skills. Just because she didn't go to school doesn't mean she can't learn how to do things on her own. She learned skills like woodcraft and knew how to make medicine for sick people. She also was good at acting. Harriet Tubman seemed older than she was, so she used her for her jobs. Harriet Tubman had to be fierce, brave, strong, and independent to have many of those jobs. As a soldier helper, you have to be strong and fierce. Then to be a nurse and to make medicine, that is a lot of pressure on a person to make sure you make a cure to a sickness. When you go from one thing to another, just know you will go bigger and stronger to do better things and to keep on going, just like Harriet Tubman did.
Hold on to me. Don't let me go. You can't plant the seed. You can't plant the grow. Your first name was free. Your last name was home. Wherever you're from, let's have flower. This earth is a grave. Might use power. Stay use your wings. Hurry on. Hurry on.
Hello, my name is Richard Payton, and I'm going to be reading my biography essay about Josephine Baker. Josephine Baker reminds me it is never too early to start doing what you love and need to do. Her story of small beginnings to great works is a lesson to us all. Just because you do not start off well does not mean you won't do great things. Josephine Baker is a very important person in American history. She was a talented actor, singer, and dancer. When she was young, her mom was poor, and her dad left her and her mom. At one point, she used to dance in street corners for money. This also reminds me, if you keep dancing in street corners, you might just be invited to Broadway. When she was 16 in 1923, she earned a spot on Broadway. About 10 years later, she adopted 12 kids. and called them her Rainbow Tribe. She became a millionaire at the age of 24. Just imagine. She is also a person who fought for civil rights and actually spoke with Martin Luther King. Josephine Baker was born June 3rd in 1906 in St. Louis, Missouri. This makes her a Gemini. When she lived in Missouri, the houses were close together. Did you know that St. Louis is sometimes called America's Little Big Town? How big was segregation? It was not how it was today, I can tell you that. But it was still pretty bad. I feel like just because we have watermelon in our skin doesn't mean we should get treated differently. Did you know Josephine actually was a spy in World War II? She sent messages. If you wondered how she sent them, it was by using invisible ink in her music sheets. Could you imagine if you were here and had to collect info and write it all down on paper? I wonder if she ever felt like she was going to get caught. In 1963, the March on Washington with Martin Luther King Jr., that is where she gave her speech in front of 250,000 people in her French uniform. To be honest, if it was me, I probably would have puked before going on stage and would have been staying up every night until it was time so everyone would not hate me. She was a really successful woman. At 24, she became a millionaire. She was good at acting, dancing, and singing. She earned this by never giving up on her dream and letting nothing bring her down. Do not think because you are in a bad place, you cannot get higher. Think about it like this. If you keep at your dreams, you will achieve it, no doubt. Only you have to believe in yourself because you are great, and do not let anyone tell you differently.
In art class, we worked on a collaborated quilt inspired by the woman of Gee's Bend, Alabama. A woman in Gee's Bend began creating quilts to keep people warm at night. For many years, for the people of Gee's Bend lived in poverty and isolation.
After a visit from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the town of Gee's Bend gained publicity and many people became interested in the quilt as piece of fine artwork. We each created our own quilt square using felt, scissors, and patterned paper. We arranged them on a large piece of fabric to design our own quilt pattern.
This poem goes out to all the first responders who truly made a difference during these past 2 years. This pandemic has been tough for all of us, but without these brave heroes, we wouldn't be where we are today. Remember, we are all in this together. The title of the poem is Chorus of the Captains by Amanda Gorman.
Today we honor our three captains for their actions and impact in a time of uncertainty and need. They've taken the lead, exceeding all expectations and limitations, uplifting their communities and neighbors as leaders, healers, and educators. James has felt the wounds of warfare, but this warrior still shares his home with at-risk kids. During COVID, he has even lent a hand live streaming football for family and fans. Tremaine is an educator who works non-stop, providing his community with hotspots, laptops, and tech workshops, so his students have all the tools they need to succeed in life and in school.
Susie is the ICU nurse manager at a Tampa hospital. Her chronicles prove that even in tragedy, hope is possible. She lost her grandmothers to the pandemic and fights to save other lives in the ICU battle zone. Defining the front line heroes, risking their lives for our own. Let us walk with these warriors, charge on with these champions, and carry forth the call of our captains. We celebrate them by acting with courage and compassion, by doing what is right and just.
For while we honor them today, it is they who every day honor us.
We learn about Kahindi Lyman in art class.
Kahindi Lyman is a portrait painter originally from South Central LA who lives and works in New York City. He often receives old master paintings and replaces the people with young people of color in street clothing. He also adds colorful patterns, backgrounds that references blotted patterns.
Throughout his art education, Kahindi notices that not many portraits represented people that looked like him. Kahindi chose to represent young people of color in his paintings because he believes that all people deserve to grace the museum walls and that all people should be celebrated.
Miss Senna's class read books about how Black History Month leaders have changed the world.
We found evidence in the text of character traits so we could try to be just like them. The details show Josephine Baker was diligent because she worked hard to be a dancing movie star. One detail from the text is her moments were silly and stylish at the same time. Another detail from the text, she was the first Black woman to ever star in a film. As you can see, Josephine Baker worked hard to be a famous movie star.
The details show Ida B. Wells is considered because she was taking care of others.
One detail from the text is she had a group of Black women and she wanted to end the unfairness for Black women.
Another detail from the text is Ida B. Wells wrote a book about her own life. As you can see, Ida B. Wells is inspiring because she inspired people to have the same rights. Also, Simone Biles is ambitious because she did not give up on her dream. One detail from the text is in the Olympics, Simone Biles won the all-around gold medal. Another detail from the text is Simone ran in league high. She spun in the air and stuck her landing. As you can see, Simone Biles never gave up on her dreams, and she won many gymnastics competitions. The details show Michelle Obama is diligent because she helped people. One detail from the text is Michelle worked to help people get a good education. Another detail from the text is she supported military families too. As you can see, she worked hard to achieve her goals.
The details show LeBron is ambitious because he achieved his goal and he won the trophy. One detail from the text is he said, "We are going to get this goal." Another detail from the text is LeBron James broke every single season record. As you can see, he was ambitious because he is achieving his goals of basketball.